Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about femur. Femur is also known as thigh bone. It is the longest and strongest bone of the body. It measures about 45 centimeters in length, or you can say 18 inches long. Okay. The femur, it extends from hip to the knee. The type of the bone, it is a long bone. The connections and articulations, it forms articulation with the acetabulum of the hip bone. This is the acetabulum of the hip bone. So it forms connection with the acetabulum of the hip bone to form the hip joint at the upper end, and at its lower end it articulates with the condyles of the tibia and patella to form knee joint. So at upper end it forms hip joint, and at the lower end it articulates with the tibia to form knee joints. Okay. Now what are the parts of the femur? It consists of a narrow shaft and enlarged upper end and the lower end. Okay. Now let us discuss about the upper end of the femur. The upper end of the femur, it consists of head, neck, the lesser trochanter and the greater trochanter. The upper end consists of head, neck, lesser trochanter and the greater trochanter. And there are lines, that is the intertrochanteric line. So this is the intertrochanteric line, and this is intertrochanteric crest. Okay, I repeat, the parts of the femur at the upper end, it consists of head, neck, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric line and intertrochanteric crest. Then let us discuss in detail about the head of the femur. Head of the femur, it is directed medially. Okay, it is directed towards the we say it is directed medially. As you can see, it is right sided femur. So the head is directed medially, whereas the acetabulum, it is directed laterally. So the head is directed medially, upwards and forward. It is the head of the femur, it is rounded than the head of the humerus. This head articulates with the acetabulum to form hip joint, and this is covered with the articular cartilage. Near the center of the head, as you can see here, near the center of the head, there is a pit or the fovea. This is known as the fovea capitis or the fovea capitis femoris. So this is about the head. Then we have the neck of the femur. Neck, it connects head to the shaft of the femur. Okay. So we can say the demarcation between the head and the shaft of the femur is the neck of the femur. So neck is 5 centimeters long. Neck is 5 centimeters long, and it joins with the shaft at an angle about 125 degrees, which makes a neck shaft angle, right? So this neck articulates with the shaft, and it makes an angle of about 125 degrees. The neck has the upper and lower parts, upper and lower borders. This is the upper border and this is the lower border. And it presents anterior surface, this is the anterior surface, and this is the posterior surface. So anterior surface of the neck, it is intracapsular. It is entirely intracapsular, whereas the posterior surface is partly intracapsular. Okay. Now this neck, it is separated from the shaft by intertrochanteric line in front. This is the intertrochanteric line. So neck is separated from the shaft of the femur by intertrochanteric line. Then, and posteriorly it is separated from the shaft by intertrochanteric crest. So remember, anteriorly we have intertrochanteric line and posteriorly we have intertrochanteric crest. The greater and the lesser trochanters, this is the greater trochanter and this is the lesser trochanter, they are situated near the junction of the neck with the shaft. Okay, they are situated near the junction of the neck with the shaft. So this is about the neck of the femur. That you must remember that the neck is about 5 centimeter long. It connects head with the shaft. Okay. So it makes an angle of about 125 degrees in adults. So the neck shaft angle in the adults is 125 degrees, but the angle is wider, that is about 160 degrees in a child. Okay, that you should remember. Then let us discuss about the greater trochanter. The greater trochanter, it forms a large quadrangular projection. This is a large quadrangular projection on the lateral aspect of the upper end of the femur. So this is the anatomical position of the femur. So on the lateral aspect of the upper end of the femur, you have a quadrangular shaped projection which is known as the greater trochanter of the femur. So the greater trochanter, it presents three surfaces. It consists of three surfaces: the anterior surface, lateral surface, the anterior surface, the lateral surface and the medial surface. So this is the anterior surface of the greater trochanter, this is the lateral surface of the greater trochanter and this is the medial surface of the greater trochanter. So there are three surfaces for the greater trochanter: the anterior, lateral and medial surface. So when you hold the bone in an anatomical position, you can make out the surfaces of the greater trochanter: the anterior, lateral and medial surface. And there are two borders for the greater trochanter. This is the upper border, this is the upper border of the greater trochanter, and this is the posterior border of the greater trochanter, the posterior border of the greater trochanter. So anterior surface, if you see the anterior surface of the greater trochanter, it is rough. Okay, the anterior surface of the greater trochanter, it is rough and it receives the insertion of gluteus minimus muscle. It receives the insertion of gluteus minimus muscle. So anterior surface is rough and it receives insertion of the gluteus minimus muscle. The lateral surface, it is quadrilateral. This is the lateral surface and it receives the insertion of gluteus medius muscle. It receives the insertion of gluteus medius muscle. Whereas the medial surface, it presents a depression. This depression is known as trochanteric fossa. This depression is known as trochanteric fossa. So this trochanteric fossa, it receives the insertion of obturator externus muscle. Obturator externus. So remember, the anterior surface is rough. It receives the insertion of gluteus minimus. The lateral surface, it is quadrilateral. It receives the insertion of gluteus medius. The medial surface, it presents a depression which is known as the trochanteric fossa and it receives the insertion of obturator externus muscle. the upper border, so that is about the surfaces. So anterior surface, the lateral surface and medial surface. Then the borders, the upper border of the greater trochanter, it receives insertion of the piriformis muscle. It receives insertion of the piriformis muscle, whereas the posterior border, it is continuous with the intertrochanteric crest. It is continuous with the intertrochanteric crest. Now coming to the lesser trochanter. So this is the lesser trochanter of the femur. It is conical in projection. Okay, it is conical projection. It is directed medially. Now if you see its anterior surface, near the tip it receives insertion of psoas major muscle. The psoas major, the iliacus muscle also attached to the lesser trochanter of the femur. So that is about the lesser trochanter. So lesser trochanter is a conical projection. The anterior surface receives the insertion of psoas major and the iliacus is also attached to the lesser trochanter of the femur. Then we have the intertrochanteric line. The intertrochanteric line, it separates the anterior surface of the neck from the shaft. Anterior surface of the neck from the shaft. So this intertrochanteric line, it gives attachment to two ligaments. One is the capsule and the iliofemoral ligament, and two muscles, the vastus lateralis in the upper part and vastus medialis in the lower part. So that is about intertrochanteric line. Then we have intertrochanteric crest. This is intertrochanteric crest. It separates posterior surface of the neck from the shaft. It separates posterior surface of the neck from the shaft of the femur. So this crest, it is overlapped by the gluteus maximus muscle and it presents a quadrate tubercle in the middle. So there is a quadrate tubercle in the middle of the intertrochanteric crest. So this quadrate tubercle, it receives insertion of the quadratus femoris muscle. About the upper end of the femur. So we discussed about the head of the femur, the neck of the femur, the greater trochanter, the lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric line, and about the intertrochanteric crest. Now we shall focus on the shaft of the femur. The shaft of the femur, it is slightly convex in front. So the convexity is maximum in the middle one third of the femur. You see the maximum convexity. So basically the femoral shaft, it presents three surfaces. This is the anterior surface. Then we have the medial surface. Then we have the lateral surface. Okay, anterior surface, medial surface and lateral surface. Anterior, medial and lateral surface, they are separated by three borders. That is the medial border, this is the medial border, and the lateral border, and we have a posterior border. This is the posterior border. So between the lateral border and medial border we have anterior surface. Between the medial border and the posterior border we have the medial surface, and between the lateral border and the posterior border we have lateral surface. So 3 surfaces and 3 borders. Simple thing that you have to remember, that this is anterior surface, medial surface, lateral surface. 3 borders. We have the medial border, the lateral border and posterior prominent border. The posterior border, it is represented by a prominent crest. This is known as the linea aspera. In the middle 1/3 of the shaft, okay, you can make out this is the linea aspera. Again, this linea aspera, it presents inner and outer lips. Okay, there are 2 lips for the linea aspera, the outer lip and the inner lip, and the intermediate area also we have, that I will show you in the diagram. So there is inner lip and there is outer lip, and you have intermediate area. Now if you trace this linea aspera above, the 2 lips, they diverge, as you can see here. The 2 lips, they diverge and enclose a triangle, the posterior surface, in the upper 1/3 of the shaft. The medial lip, it is continuous with the spiral line. This is the spiral line. So this is the medial lip. The medial lip, it is continuous with the spiral line, whereas the lateral lip with a prominent ridge forms gluteal tuberosity, and it extends up to the root of the greater trochanter of the femur. So that is about the medial and the lateral lips of the linea aspera. So if you see below, the lips of the linea aspera, the 2 lips, they diverge below as at the upper end. The 2 lips of the linea aspera, they diverge. One medial lip, it continues with the spiral line. The lateral lip forms gluteal tuberosity, then it reaches up to the root of the greater trochanter of the femur. Now at the lower end of the posterior surface also you have the 2 lips of the linea aspera. So, and they form a triangular surface here. This is known as the popliteal surface in the lower 1/3 of the shaft. So medial lip, this is the medial lip. It is continuous with the medial supracondylar line. So this is medial supracondylar line. So medial lip, it is continuous with the medial supracondylar line, which extends up to the adductor tubercle. All of you see, this is the adductor tubercle on the medial aspect. This is the adductor tubercle. And the lateral lip, it is continuous with the prominent lateral supracondylar ridge or the lateral supracondylar line. Therefore, the shaft of the femur presents altogether 5 surfaces. What are they? This is the anterior surface, this is the medial surface, and this is lateral surface. Posterior surface in the upper 1/3, this is the posterior surface in the upper 1/3, and popliteal surface in the lower 1/3. So total there are 5 surfaces for the shaft of the femur. About the lower end of the femur. The lower end of the femur, it is enlarged to form the medial and the lateral condyles. So which form knee joint by articulating with the tibia and patella in front. So actually these 2 condyles, the medial and the lateral condyle, they articulate with the corresponding condyles of the tibia to form the knee joint. Okay, so both the condyles, they project backward, separated by intercondylar fossa. So this is intercondylar fossa. The outer surfaces of both the condyles, both the condyles are rough and they are convex. The most prominent points on the convexity are known as the epicondyles. So these are epicondyles, and these are the condyles of the lower end of the femur. Then we have a V-shaped articular surface which is present at the anterior, inferior and posterior surfaces of the condyles. So this apex of the V is known as the patellar surface. So this is the patellar surface which occupies the anterior surface of the two condyles and articulate with the patella. Rest of the articular surface is known as the tibial surface, comes in contact with the corresponding condyles of the tibia, which are separated by the menisci of the tibia. Okay, then let us discuss about the lateral epicondyle. The lateral epicondyle, this is the lateral epicondyle, gives attachment to the upper end of the fibular collateral ligament. There is a groove below the lateral epicondyle which is intracapsular. Its anterior part gives attachment to the popliteus muscle. So this is actually, we say the popliteal muscle is attached to the lateral surface of the lateral epicondyle of the femur. So there is a groove. So this groove is occupied by the tendon, right? Okay. So that is about the lateral epicondyle of the femur, whereas the medial epicondyle gives attachment to the upper end of the tibial collateral ligament, and there is an adductor tubercle. All of you see, so this is the adductor tubercle, which is very, very important. So at the lower end of the medial supracondylar ridge, it lies above the condyle. The adductor tubercle, it is unique. Why it is unique? Because it receives the insertion of tendon of the ischial part of the or hamstring part of the adductor magnus. The epiphyseal line of the lower end, it passes through this adductor tubercle. Then it also forms bony landmark for the surface anatomy. Okay, so these are the three unique features of the adductor tubercle. Then we have intercondylar fossa. This is intercondylar fossa. This intercondylar fossa presents medial wall and the lateral walls. So medial wall of the fossa gives attachment to the upper part of this is the medial wall. It gives attachment to the upper part of the posterior cruciate ligament, and lateral wall gives attachment to the anterior cruciate ligament. Okay, so these are the attachments at the intercondylar fossa of the femur, the anterior and posterior cruciate ligaments. Now coming to the anatomical position of the femur. So you have to place the head of the femur upward medially, and it is slightly forward. Okay, you have to look for the convexity of the shaft. It faces anteriorly. The lower surface of both the femoral condyles, they are horizontal. Okay, the shaft of the femur is slightly oblique, which is sloping downwards and medially. So that is about the anatomical position. So this is how you have to hold the bone. Now let me discuss about ossification of the femur. The femur is ossified from one primary center for the shaft. So one primary center for the shaft. Three secondary centers for the upper end. Three secondary centers for the upper end, one for the head, one for the greater trochanter and other for the lesser trochanter, and one secondary center for the lower end. So primary center is one, that is for the shaft, three secondary centers for the upper end, one is for the head, one is for the greater trochanter and the other is for the lesser trochanter, and one secondary center for the lower end. So the primary center appears in the middle of the shaft about 7th week of intrauterine life. The center for the head appears about 6th month to 1 year after birth. The secondary center for the head appears about 6th month to 1 year after birth. And for the greater trochanter at the 4th year, and for the lesser trochanter about 14th year. Now the lesser trochanter, it unites with the diaphysis during 16th year. The greater trochanter at the 17th year, and the head about 18th year. So the neck is derived from the primary center as the extension of this shaft. Okay, the neck is derived from the primary center as extension of the shaft. The epiphyseal plate between the head and the neck is initially horizontal and becomes oblique by the age of 8 to 12 years. Okay, the epiphyseal center for the lower end is unique. Okay, I told you that there is one secondary center at the lower end. So this epiphyseal center for the lower end is unique since it appears just before birth. Just before birth means that is 9th month of intrauterine life. So this bears some medico-legal importance because its appearance shows maturity of the fetus. Okay, because this center appears just before birth. So its appearance shows that maturity of the fetus. So that is a medico-legal importance of the lower end of the secondary center, the femur. Okay, the epiphyseal line passes through the adductor tubercle. This is the adductor tubercle. The epiphyseal line, it passes through the adductor tubercle and it is replaced by bone by the age of 20 years. Therefore the lower end is growing end of the femur. Lower end is growing end of the femur. The head and the lower end are pressure epiphyses, whereas the greater trochanter and lesser trochanter are the traction epiphyses. Okay, so this is about the shaft of the femur, the upper end of the femur and the lower end of the femur. Okay, I have told you the anatomical position, side determination also. You should look for the head if it has to face medially, the greater trochanter laterally. Okay, anterior surface is smooth and it is convex. So this is how you have to hold the bone in anatomical position. Okay, look at the anterior surface, look at the head. It should face medially and this one should face anteriorly, the convex anterior surface, and posteriorly you have to look for the linea aspera. So these are the various parts of the femur we have discussed, and we discussed about the ossification of the femur, anatomical position of the femur. Okay, now we shall look at the attachments of the femur. Okay, let us discuss about the attachments of the femur. We can see here, this is the anterior view of the femur, the anterior surface of the femur. This is the posterior view of the femur with the various attachments, and we shall see the attachments in the trochanteric fossa of the femur. Now At the head of the femur, you see depression. This is called fovea, the fovea capitis. The fovea capitis gives attachment to the ligament of the head of the femur. The fovea capitis gives attachment to the ligament of the head of the femur. Okay. Then neck, you can see it gives attachment to the capsule of the hip joint. The greater trochanter gives attachment to the gluteus minimus, right? Then here we have the intertrochanteric line, and this you can see this is the lesser trochanter, which receives the insertion of psoas major muscle, and we have attachments of on the anterior aspect at the upper end, the vastus lateralis and vastus medialis. The anterior surface of the shaft in the middle third gives attachment to the vastus intermedius muscle. Okay, this is an anterior aspect. And articularis genu also attached to the anterior surface of the shaft of the femur. Then at the lower end of the anterior surface, we can see the attachment of the capsule of the knee joint, the adductor tubercle on the medial aspect, the popliteus on the lateral aspect. Okay, this is the patellar articular surface. Then we have epiphyseal line of the lower end. So these are the attachments on the anterior surface of the femur from above downwards. Then if you see the posterior view of the femur, posteriorly also at the neck you have the capsular attachment of the hip joint, and the greater trochanter receives the attachment of the gluteus medius. The quadrate tubercle gives attachment to the quadratus femoris, and you can see here the attachment of the psoas major, iliacus and pectineus. This is on the upper part of the posterior surface of the shaft of the femur. So psoas major, iliacus and pectineus. Then you also have insertion of the adductor brevis, then the adductor longus, and you also have the attachments of the vastus medialis, the vastus intermedius and vastus lateralis to the linea aspera. Okay. Then in the middle you see this yellow color line. This is actually the adductor magnus muscle. So this is adductor part of the adductor magnus, which is attached to the linea aspera, and eventually it is inserted at the adductor tubercle. That part of the muscle is known as the hamstring part of the adductor magnus. Okay, and there is an opening here. You can see within the muscle. This is actually the fifth osteoaponeurotic opening of the adductor magnus muscle. So these are the muscles attached to the posterior aspect of the femur, that is on the linea aspera, the adductor brevis, adductor longus, the vastus medialis, vastus intermedius and vastus lateralis and adductor magnus. This is the adductor part of the adductor magnus, and this is hamstring part of the adductor magnus. Okay. Then we have at the lower end there is an attachment of the plantaris muscle. Okay. The gastrocnemius muscle, the lateral head of the gastrocnemius, and popliteus on the lateral aspect. Okay. Then we have on the medial aspect we have the attachment of the gastrocnemius, the medial. So medial head of the gastrocnemius, lateral head of the gastrocnemius on the lateral aspect, the popliteus is on the lateral aspect of the lateral epicondyle of the femur. Then we have the cruciate ligaments. This is in the intercondylar fossa. We have anterior cruciate ligament and we have the posterior cruciate ligament. The posterior cruciate ligament is attached on the posterior and anterior cruciate ligament. They are attached to the intercondylar fossa. So these are the attachments on the posterior aspect of the femur. Now if you see this is actually the medial surface of the greater trochanter. We say the medial surface has a depression which is known as the trochanteric fossa, right? So the trochanteric fossa, it receives the insertion of the following muscles. We have the gemellus superior, obturator internus, and gemellus inferior. So this is actually known as the tricipital tendon. Okay, that is in the trochanteric fossa. The gemellus superior, obturator internus, and gemellus inferior. Okay. So then we have the attachment of the piriformis muscle, the obturator externus. Okay. Then we also make out the attachment of gluteus minimus, gluteus medius, and this is actually the trochanteric bursa for the gluteus medius, and this is trochanteric bursa for the gluteus maximus. So this is actually the upper end of the right femur, the superior view. Okay, when you see the femur from the superior aspect, you see all these attachments. Okay, so this is about the attachments of the femur and the anterior aspect, attachments of the femur on the posterior aspect, and attachments at the upper end. When you view from the superior aspect, you see the following muscles are attached to the upper end of the femur. Okay, so that is about the femur. We have discussed almost all the points related to the femur. That it has got upper end, shaft and the lower end. Upper end has got head, trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric line, intertrochanteric crest. Okay, anterior surface, medial surface, lateral surface, it is the posterior surface, and this is the popliteal surface. There are 5 surfaces for the shaft. The lower end consists of medial condyle, lateral condyle, and intercondylar fossa, the medial epicondyle and the lateral epicondyle. Okay, so the adductor tubercle is very, very important, which is at the medial, just below the medial supracondylar ridge. Okay, the unique features I have already told you about the adductor tubercle. Okay, that you must remember. So for any clarifications, you can call me. I will explain. If you have not understood any part of my lecture, I will explain you again. Individually, you can call me. I will clarify your doubts. Now, one more thing. Many students have